Fulcher here. I'm with you because I want you to get your groove back. I want you to love your life. I want you to feel great in the skin you're in. And I know you can. And I know coaching can help you do it. So every week I show up with just a few minutes of practical advice for your complicated life. Today, we're going to talk about grudges. It's human to have grudges. A grudge is essentially unexpressed emotion, and that unexpressed emotion, when it's repressed, can really start to get in this dark, ugly place inside of us. A grudge brings out the worst in you. It makes you your worst self. It also makes you miserable. Think about it. If you've ever had a grudge, don't you feel like hell? Yes, you do. It makes you miserable. And it makes you miserable to be around. I know that hurts, but there's no judgment here. Believe me, I'm actually doing this week's video because I just use these steps to move through a grudge myself. So even with all of the coaching experience I've had and all of the work I've done, I still get hooked myself. I want to help you stop getting hooked, and we're going to do it this week in 3 simple steps. Step number 1, name your obsession. Admit it, you've been obsessing. You've been having imaginary conversations in your head where you prove your case and talk about how wrong the situation is, how wrong the person involved in the situation is. You probably even read that person the riot act as you have this conversation all in your own fantasy land. So let's actually make it matter. I want you to define what is wrong with the situation. What's the story you're telling yourself about it? I want you to get it out. Remember, what we're really looking to do here with a grudge is to free you from the emotional turmoil that's involved when you're plugged into this negative, nasty experience. So the first thing we want to do is just define that nasty experience. And then once you've done that, move immediately into step 2. And I want you to hate all over it. That's right. I want you to get those ugly feelings out of your heart. They don't belong there. I want you to write down on that piece of paper everything you're feeling. And it's really important to note here that most people stop themselves from moving through this step fully because it can be very scary to have really negative emotions. Emotions like jealousy and hate. But grudges involve these dark feelings. So I want you to be brave enough to really be with yourself and move through an arc of feeling and get it all out on paper. And it's important to note that while it may feel scary to think about moving through this process, once you actually allow yourself to feel your emotions, what you're going to find is that it only lasts 1 or 2 moments, that feeling of real discomfort. And then on the other side of the discomfort, you're going to feel free. All right, so we've named your obsession and you've hated all over it. Now I want you to burn or shred that paper. And I'm not kidding here. I have had clients have their papers found by people who shouldn't have found them in the past. It was really ugly. Burn or shred your paper. And finally, step number 3. I want you to practice disconnecting. Here's the thing. A grudge gets its power because you are giving it your attention. And what we want to do is starve this sucker. What you've got to do in order to make that happen is to start paying attention to your own behavior. So you've created a pattern at this point. Your brain is used to thinking about this situation or this person in a really negative, really disempowering way. I want you to pay attention to your life. And in the next week, every time this situation comes up, every time the person comes up, rather than get hooked and jumping on that hamster wheel, obsessing about the unfairness of the situation and how terrible the person is, I want you to just stop. I want you to take a breath, and I want you to imagine unplugging your energy, unplugging your attention from that person. The situation does not deserve your life force anymore, so I want you to stop giving yourself to it. Now, what you're going to find is that if you really move through step 1 and 2, once you start to practice the disconnection, it's not going to take you many tries before you feel really different about the situation. Nothing else could have changed about the circumstances, but the way you're feeling about it, the way you're paying attention to it, will really give you a great deal of freedom. Now, as a side note, come back next week and we're going to talk about how to set a boundary for real. And so the grudge you're dealing with has to do with a situation where you're going to need to call for some change. I'm going to help you do that next week. For now, this week, let's take your attention and your energy back from that little old grudge. It doesn't have any power over you anymore. That's it for the week. If you like this video, like it below and subscribe so you always get the latest and greatest. If you want your weekly coaching video delivered to you every Wednesday to your email inbox, head on over to kimfulcher.com, put your email in the little box, and I will show up every Wednesday morning with a little piece of coaching advice for you. If you know someone who could use a lift, pass this video on. We all need a little support once in a while. You are good, and life is happening completely for you. And guess what? No matter what happens, you got this.